Google's exhausting Concordance of the Bible, May 16th, 2025. We all do it. We all know enough of the Bible verse to remember it, but not enough of the Bible verse to quote it properly. And if we're being responsible and we don't simply want to quote our version of the Bible verse, we want to quote the version of the Bible verse. So we Google our version of the Bible verse, and Google corrects the order of words we use to give it to it, and gives us an actual Bible verse. We search for something that resembles a verse out of the NIV with 14 words in it but has the wrong adjective, and Google matches the other 13 words to the NIV and corrects our misplaced adjective use. And the Substack post gets more scholarly and the green grass grows all around. Google has become our concordance and commentary, and whether we knew it or not, and whether we like it or not. And at the moment, we're still transitioning to AI becoming our Google. A few weeks ago on a computer, I looked up a Bible verse in the above-mentioned process, knowing full well that I didn't know the Bible verse by memory, and knowing full well that the search bar would compensate for that. And as I did, something strange happened. The search bar didn't give me my expected answer. The AI that has taken its place did. My work uses Microsoft products for all its IT needs, and part and parcel with that is no Chrome or Firefox. To each his own. I don't need brand loyalty and browser selection like some, so I do my work, and when I needed to get a Bible verse properly quoted, I improperly searched for it, and Google tends to give me the NIV approximate. I tend to enter into it. Having been raised in mostly evangelical circles, it's the Bible I know the most of and have heard the most of. So it's the Bible I enter the most of into the search bar to get my corrections from. What happens next, though, doesn't happen in the search bar. The Bible verse I get is almost always from the NIV, but my writing requires me to use the KJV because I don't want to deal with copyright issues and whatnot. KJV is in the public domain, so I use it for most of my writings now. I don't know the KJV enough to quote it, even though I like it when I'm reading and writing about it. But when someone asks me to quote scripture from memory, they never get my approximation of the KJV. They get my best crack at the NIV. And my search terms, once corrected, generally lead me the first few results to BibleGateway.com, where I check the verse and switch the translation, before hitting copy and paste to whatever article I'm working on. Here's where the AI stepped in. Instead of giving me the NIV, it gave me the KJV, with no extra steps. Now, I could go on a long conspiratorial bent about how it knew that, but the truth is, I know how it knew that plainly. I know that the AI built into MS Copilot can get into any web history I have, and any temporary internet files I have out of the browser and work with its AI. And the issue this raises is the joint practice I was guilty of and the vulnerabilities that a culture that practices that practice might have in a world that's genuinely helpful, but a wisdomless AI. Because not everyone who types half-recalled Bible verse, or everyone who types in a half-recalled Bible verse, is looking for biblical clarity. Some of them are trying to see what they want the Bible to say, and the AI is not equipped with the thou shalt nots to deal with that kind of thing. At least not yet. When I was in Bible college, I had a unique front row viewing for this kind of thing happening, sans AI, if you will. I was enrolled in a class about the Gospels, taught by one of the smartest people I have ever met. He reads from a Greek New Testament, which he had memorized and knew enough of the translation techniques of the Bible translators to know that if you were reading from an NIV or an NKJV, or even, as one poor freshman found out, the inadequate for proper biblical study, the Message. But when I replied from a verse out of a Bible, a thrifted NASV from 1979, he gave me a quick and puzzled look and asked me what Bible I was reading from. I showed him and explained that the NASB had been updated, and he explained that the NASB had been updated in 1995, and that this was an older version that caught him off guard. He knew about the changes, but was only familiar with the 1995 version to know it as the accepted NASB. With his party trick adequately demonstrated, we proceeded to learn about the Bible. The hole was in the ground, and the green grass grew all around. But that man didn't trace the probable course through likely data, and then change his output to suit the user. He saw an otherwise mundane anomaly in a set of things he intrinsically knew, and corrected the adjacent user. That's what the Bible is for, don't you know? All scripture is given by inspiration of God and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of God be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. 2 Timothy 3:16. What AI is at least capable of doing is correcting the use of our correcting tools to fit with the use of them by ourselves. It did not profit the misguided message user in my Gospels class to look for the original meaning of the text as she received it via Peterson's paraphrase, but that's okay. Someone who knew better, because he actually knew the original text, stepped in and corrected the use of the paraphrase in biblical study. He did so by knowing what the text was to define what the text wasn't. And AI could and would do that too. But to ask it to do that, we need to ask it to do things on behalf of abstracted, unknown people and not specific engaged users. That professor learned Greek because he knew he would need Greek for the unlearned students he would then teach. The worry is that AI does the same kind of thing so well mechanically that it will get placed in the professor's place. Not because it can be bought... that it can be placed in the professor's place, because it can be bought for a much lower price than his tenure. Because technology never wants you to do the work so that you can be useful elsewhere in abstract. It only wants to do the work for you so it can be useful in the practice immediately. You don't vibe code to learn how to code properly. You vibe code to offload the skills of a proper coding to desire and little else. The same way, guilty as charged, a guy could offload knowledge of the scriptures he reads and writes from into a search engine. Yeah, it gets the job done. But see how slow my writing gets when the second omnipresent concordance isn't there for me and the lights go out? All it took was a solar flare, a power outage, a long list of fragilities growing longer by the second, as if they weren't all by design. I know another brilliant mind who knows how to code and uses AI to code all the same. And the only difference between him and the pure vibe coders is that he can make his way back out of that cave when the lights go out. He knows how. He knows how much work it is because he's done it. And he's fully capable of doing it the hard way, but he has paid enough dues and attention and knows what to look for when the AI cuts the wrong corners. He sees, as a growing number of actual technicians see, that offloading our mental capacities into a machine is nothing more than a vulnerability as a service, a VAAS, if you will. And VAAS does not apply to code, it applies to anything needing technique via language, like knowledge of the Bible. For as much wisdom as us theologians claim to have, we didn't notice that offloading when we asked Google to start doing it for us biblically, or when that offloading itself got turned into a service and we started paying for logos. Which is a powerful tool, but not a great tool. A great tool showcases talent and skill and knowledge through its use. A powerful tool approximates all three by technique and technology. A paintbrush gets paint on the roof of the Sistine Chapel by only the hands of Michelangelo, and a paint sprayer does it all the same via power and a tradesman. Don't believe random myths about technology you see on the internet. Believe the Mythbusters instead in the link below. Is that painting great or powerful? What are the throngs of tech enthusiasts in the crowd cheering for? The approximation of Leonardo da Vinci's work, or the powerful GPU and air pressure that accomplished it? When art becomes nothing more than application of paint, study nothing more than the application of search terms, and programming nothing more than the Control-V of Stack Overflow, these things lose their meaning, and in their purpose, hot on meaning's heels will follow. Purposeless coders will be a devastating end to the use of AI to code. Hundreds of thousands of men and women's livelihoods lost to nothing less than technological progress and profit. A sad reality, at the very least on the horizon, if we're being honest. But that honesty in being will also have us look at the purposeless pastors made of nothing more than stewards of right now media, the GPT sermon and search terms. It may not bother most that their pastor not know Greek or Hebrew, but knows how to find out about Greek or Hebrew words via technological advancements, even ones as old as books as a concordance. But it does bother some of us who know that biblically accurate sermons and discipleship rest on some teachers in inexorable ways, but not most teachers in anything close to inexorable ways. There isn't a soul in the world that could take the intimate knowledge of Greek away from that gospel class's professor. But just about anyone could take mine away with a push of a button and the theft of a few large books from my bookcase. See how smart ignorant people sound? Makes you wonder, huh?